TNA fam, how's it going? Today we're back here at the Impact Zone podcast to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans. But today, of course, by the thumbnail and the title, you should know that I am talking about wrestling content, because there is a lot of content out there, and I'm talking about wrestling content, not YouTube creators and such here in this one more so. But here's the thing about having we talked about this at a bit of length before about TNA reducing the number of shows that they had. And how I thought it was such a good idea and whatnot. But here's another aspect to that. The more you put out, the more it becomes sort of noise, if you follow what I kind of mean. The more that you can sit back and they haven't really done this very well yet, but the more you can kind of sit back and go, no, we do have our TV weekly, obviously, and we do have other content, obviously, and whatnot, but the more time that we have to sit back and say, okay, what are our plans for the next 3 months? What are our plans for the next whatever weeks? How are we getting from where we're at to where we're going? The more time that you kind of have to turn these things around, the easier it honestly is, because you have more time to build these things up. And it's not just a whir of we've got to put shows out. No, you don't have to just put shows out. That's what a lot of people's complaints were about these smaller shows or whatever else. Yes, they were cheaper, and yes, the expectations were a lot lower, so to speak, and all that sort of stuff. But that was the problem. It was the problem of, well, we just have to put stuff out because everybody else just puts stuff out every month. And if we're not putting stuff out every month, then we kind of get lost in the shuffle, in a sense. But the problem is, when you put that content out, well, it still gets lost in the shuffle because there's so much other stuff at the same time that it's well, yeah, we're putting on a fairly mediocre show for the most part that's only had 1 month of build. So when you're doing that, it's just, a lot of blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of noise for the sake of noise, because you feel oh, well, everyone else is doing this thing, i.e. basically publishing a pay-per-view every month, basically. And that model was established a long, long, long time ago. But then you're oh, to stand out more from our competition, and let alone just wrestling competition, but especially our wrestling competition, why not we do something different? Let's cut some of those episodes because, well, they're not it just takes too much time and too much energy and too much effort to try to put these shows together every single month. It's less work for us. It's more time to not sit back, but sort of be in that creative chair, hopefully. They haven't really done that quite yet, but I hope this is what we were hoping for. We were hoping for them to say, okay, we're gonna focus more on these bigger, more important, more impressive shows. They're gonna have a bigger, better story, a bigger, better build, more stuff going on. It's going to be more major. People are going to have to tune in, and it's not just going to be something that is there that is overshadowed by everything else anyway that's already out there. Because again, there's so much wrestling content out there. And even to say, oh, yeah, are people really going to tune in every week to see us? No, we've seen that in the numbers. And that's because there's strong competition out there. But are we still putting on a good product? Sometimes, yes. Are we putting on some things that are maybe a little bit mediocre or a little bit under the bar or whatever else it is? Sometimes, yes. But that's sometimes, like, it is what it is. Sometimes you only have 5 more minutes on a show and you go, well, we need something to fill that 5 minutes or whatever else it is. So, hey, we have this random, basically jobber match or basically nothing match, but that's going to pay off later. It's going to be something later, hopefully, for somebody, you know. So we've got to air something, and that's the only thing we've got to air in that, 5-minute slot or whatever else it is. Otherwise, the show will be, running short, and you don't want to run short, but you don't want to run long either. That's the dichotomy of wrestling. And we remember when, I can't remember when it was, but it was a few weeks ago when Eric Young had that interview a few weeks back of saying, hey, people have got to keep to their times and stuff like that. You've got to keep to your times, and you've got to understand, especially because a lot of this is taped, that, hey, when would our ad breaks be? You know what I mean? You've got to understand this is a TV product. You know what I mean? That's the difference between TNA and the indies and a lot of other promotions and whatnot. Like WWE, AEW, they have TV products. So when they produce a TV episode, they have to think, right, where is our advertising going? And sometimes it's not so super set in stone, but you have to realize, oh, okay, the match is slowing down. Right, well, maybe an ad's coming, And I know people complain about, there being too many ads and things like that in wrestling nowadays, especially in WWE, but that is what funds the show at the ultimate, at one of the ultimate levels, There is no show without advertising, unfortunately. And that is also a thing of saying, hey, a lot of these other things that do get advertised, even TNA, even AEW needs advertising. WWE needs advertising because some people, I don't know who, but whatever, don't know about WWE or don't really know what it's kind of all about or whatever else it is, especially young kids and things like this or whatever else it is who haven't really discovered wrestling and things like that or whatnot. So yeah, again, those things need advertising. If you see something on TV that's not just, something that you go, oh man, I've seen this ad 1,000 times or whatever else it is. It's like, oh, I didn't know about this thing or whatever else it is, maybe, or whatnot. So it does inform you to say, oh yeah, I know, in general, you'd know toothpaste exists. Oh, wow, what? There's another toothpaste. Wow, what? Colgate Ultra, what, or whatever, obviously, okay, whitening, whatever, sure, all the stuff, all the things, blah, blah, blah. But, or whatever, oh, McLean's toothpaste, this toothpaste, that, whatever, I don't know toothpaste brands, whatever, I don't care. And I'm sure most people here don't. But again, if you see something that's fairly mundane like that, or toilet rolls or whatever else it is, it's like, yeah, sure, whatever, sounds cool, maybe I'll buy it, who knows, if I'm at the store and it's cheap enough or whatever else it is, blah blah blah, yeah, sure, whatever. But beyond that, unless it's something that I actually care about or go, oh, that seems interesting, like a movie or I don't know, music or whatever else it is, that sort of stuff. It's like, oh, yeah, whatever. Because most of the time it is like those sorts of things: toothpaste, this and that, toilet paper, da da da, da, home insurance, da 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 da, car insurance, or whatever else it is, or trip to Maui, or whatever else it is, things like this. Um, but again, like WWE, AEW, TNA, they need advertising too. So that is another way for them to, not only have, like getting more eyes on the product in a sense, it's another thing to kind of well, I say promote the company, but it's another way for their product to be seen in more different areas, more so it's more about distribution and that sort of thing, because like all sorts of people watch all sorts of things at different times, and that sort of, especially like on YouTube or on other social media or whatever, the algorithm is a lot better in advertising to you more so, whereas when you're on more generic TV or cable TV or whatever else you want to call it, or just generic sort of things, most of the time it is more like generic stuff, because basically everybody needs these sorts of products. Everyone needs toilet paper. Everyone buys, mouthwash or toothpaste or whatever else. These sorts of very generic things, or whatever else it is. So, and there's a lot of people that like movies or like music or whatever. But again, like you can't, like I can understand saying when WWE has like an hour worth of ads on a 3-hour show basically, and only has an hour worth of wrestling, and whatnot, things like that. That's like horrendous, absolutely horrendous. But still, you've got to understand, hey, this is like, unfortunately in WWE it's not really, but this is what's paying the bills, kind of thing. Well, it's actually, in that case, it's more, this is what's making, well, part of at least, what's making the profits for this place. This is how we make our money. Through not just advertising what we do, but through advertising other different things and saying, hey, put your ads here, sponsor us, do this, do that, so that we can get something out of that. Because again, that just promotes what we're doing, because we're partners, because we have this relationship or whatever else it is. We have all of these things going for us. So it is one of those things of saying, this is where we're at, this is what we're doing. So yeah, but still, like, you want your content, if you're making any kind of content like wrestling or whatever else, to stand out. You want it to be different. You want people, like, again, people like before, like, we're very, like, the real hardcore fans were like, yeah, sure, we'll watch whatever you basically throw at us, because we like wrestling and we want to see what you've got to do. We want to see the stories. We want to see the matches. We want to see the moments, whatever else it is. And we want to see this company do the best that they can. And just again, like, if you're saying, okay, instead of, well, again, doing this once a month or whatever, let's cut that out. Let's say, okay, we, like, what's our really, like, because again, how much money are they making? Oh, not a whole lot, because again, like, it's a lot of effort to turn around a show in a month. And I can understand that. And again, you can understand why there's not really all that much build a lot of the times to a lot of these shows, because you've only got a month to work with, and that's not a really long period of turnaround or whatever else it is. Whereas if you say, okay, yes, some of the stuff that might be on the TV now, like here and there, might be a little bit less than some, well, I don't know, I don't think it is, but it still might have some of those moments where it's like, why is this random match happening, or why is that random match happening, or whatever else it is, to an extent. But the thing is, it's like, well, at the end of the day, this is to hopefully build to where they're going. What are they doing? Why? All of those things. We are building towards Slammiversary, we're building to Bound for Glory, or Lockdown, or whatever else it is. All those upcoming shows. Obviously, we're building to next year's shows as well. So, you've got to keep that in mind. Like, if you have 3 months to work with, you might see some of these, like, matches that you would have seen, or potentially would have seen, on some of these shows on your weekly episodes of TV, which makes those weekly episodes of TV a little bit more exciting because, hey, you probably wouldn't have seen this sort of match potentially on like a weekly episode of TV sometimes, because it's like, well, why would we do that on TV when we've got a pay-per-view to build to? And sometimes it's a bit awkward. I think that's another thing. Like, I try to give them some slack here with like the Lei and Lee thing, but it is like, well, that's just silly, because it's like, we've only got barely a month or so to Slammiversary, and here you are putting the title on her, but that was that was apparently the story that you were going to tell, and now, like, we obviously know where that's going, at least for now. And I said I think it's obvious that Zaya is going to win it, but I don't know. That's kind of like I was saying before, it's a little like, well, if you're thinking about the way you're producing this content as well, that's very shitty, because here you are, Lei's finally done it, she's finally got the belt back, and now she's going to lose it from holding it from another month. And there's been so many just like of these short title reigns of late. So if she does lose it, which I'm assuming she will, I would at least like to see them go, okay, now we've got it to where we want it to be. Now Zaya's going to hold that belt for a good 6 months, for a good 8 months, for a good year, whatever else it is. We're going to take the time, and she's going to be the top lady for a while, and everything's going to revolve around her in that role. I mean, like, I still think it's actually going to be pretty difficult. But then again, the thing is, it's like, realistically, you don't have that many great other baby faces for the most part. So, but yeah, you have a whole lot of like bigger time heels. So it's like, again, maybe that's the wrong decision to put it on Zaya, because it's like, well, or especially like so soon, it's like, from every perspective, you can think like, man, we need to find a way to hold off on this, because we've got so many heels and so little time to sort of to build Zaya up, and to build Lei up. It's like, well, if we're gonna do that, we need more baby faces so that Zaya can actually have feuds with people if she's going to win the belt after that. Or we need at least some things for these people to do in the meantime. We can't just have these people exist. And I think that they're realizing that as well with like Harley Hudson and Myla Grace. It's like, I think they're more realizing, hey, well, we just need more girls in a singles role, because we've got so many other girls and whatnot that need opponents and need dance partners, so to speak. And yeah, it's just, we need other people. We cannot be sitting here and saying, we have all these people that are just basically sitting on their hands because, again, we don't have anything for them. We don't have opponents for them. Well, we have some, but we haven't done anything with them. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, that's what we need to do then. We need to actually give them some time, give them something to do, give them something to work with. And like, even if it's like working on like some past history or whatever else it is, that's better. But even if it isn't, it's like, yeah, well, even from that perspective, at least it's something. At least we're giving them something to work with. And at least we're giving like some stories to more people, and we're making the division a lot more diverse and a lot more interesting and a lot more like, okay, is Harley Hudson or is Myla Grace or is this person or that person actually going to climb the ladder a bit more? Or are we going to see a little bit more of these girls, a little bit more like that? You know, like at a certain point, that's what we hope for. We want to see everyone like kind of at least doing something, and like, again, from a business perspective, if you have invested money in, you know, putting these people under contract, if you've invested TV time in putting these people on TV, even for a few minutes, then it's like, well, like, again, why do we have them on our books if we're not going to use them? And again, we need dance partners, so to speak, for so many people. We need dance partners for Zaya. We need dance partners for Ash by Elegance and the Elegance brand. We need dance partners for a whole bunch of people. So just saying, hey, this is what we need to do. We need to, you know, showcase these people and have them be doing things, you know. Yeah. If we do that more on TV on a regular basis, the TV feels a whole lot better because you're seeing more of these like matches and things, like maybe a little bit more condensed or whatever else it is or whatnot to an extent, or more of these moments and these story beats and whatnot on the more of these smaller shows and whatnot, or smaller shows, but more on the TV. So it makes the TV more compelling, hopefully, because again, now we don't have to, you know, work around saying, oh, we've got that other show this month. And yes, it is more like tapings or whatever else it is. So it's just more money and more energy and more setup, not just from a storyboard, you know, working perspective or whatever else it is, story writing perspective or whatever else. Because again, if you're saying every month we've got to come up with a challenger or we've got to come up with a story, obviously you've got to come up with a story, but if you have 3 months to build that story or whatever, it's a lot easier to say, okay, we're gonna start. Well, basically, we're gonna start now. Well, have we already started? But like we've started this story. Now this is the next chapter. Okay, now this is the next chapter. Now this is the next chapter. You know, and whatnot. So you work in those little increments. And it's a lot easier just to say, okay, this is, well, at least hopefully, this is where we're going in the next 3 months, you know. So there's some, I said before, there's some obvious things with, like, some things. It's like, yeah, the Hardys and the Righteous, that's something that's going to happen, you know, at some point, clearly. Like, there's going to be a very big blow-off with like another final deletion sort of style of match or whatever else it is at some point or whatever. You know, that sort of thing. So yeah, but we've got to wait to see when that is. You know, it's not going to be, you know, this week or even at Slammiversary, I don't think. And you know, it's in a way, it's a great program in many ways, but in another way, again, it's like I've said this so much, it's terrible because it's like, It's the only thing both of these teams are doing realistically, and have been doing for a long time. And again, it's not benefiting anyone else. So again, that's where you need to have your younger teams like your Sinners and Saints and these other teams and whatever else that you've got, which you don't really have a whole lot of, honestly, which you haven't really invested enough time and energy into. But again, if you don't believe that Sinner and Saint or whatever are good enough or charismatic enough or whatever else enough, again, okay, well then why have we got them on the books? Why have we got them on the books? We should have a justified reason for having them on the books. And I can get the everybody has a role argument. We need some people to be jobbers. We need some people to be this. We need some people to be that. I can get that. And you say they're not talented enough to be like the main event guys. Okay, sure, fine, fair enough. But why, where are they at? Why aren't they at least there? If we've got them, we should use them. And if we're not going to use them, then, at a certain point, why are we wasting time and money and energy and effort on them to, to not use them? So let's just give up on that. Let's say, okay, we don't know what we're doing with you. We haven't got enough plans for you. We just don't think you're ready enough for, prime time TV. That's the difference. You're great indie wrestlers. You're great wrestlers. You're great performers, whatever else, on the indies and things like this. But when it comes to TV products, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people that are TV products. So again, that's or YouTube products, Twitch, TikTok, whatever, all that sort of stuff. We need people that are big, bold personalities that have charisma, that have all these things. Not to say that everyone needs to be an actor, but again, you need to be that's what you need to have in mind. Not that everyone has to be The Rock or Joe Hendry or whatever else it is. But again, everybody needs to have that level of, or a certain level of, no, they feel like they are not just a character, but they are them up to 11, and that's what we want to see. We want to see you turned up to 11. So if you're not going to come out here and be you turned up to 11, and actually they did some all right stuff there a couple of weeks ago as well, when they were finally given a chance. Again, after months and months of being away, but suddenly they're just disappeared again. Ricky Soso, I don't know what's going on with him too, but he had a lot of personality, and I think he can wrestle pretty well. So again, as long as I think you A, can wrestle at least pretty well, and B, have enough personality and can tell a story and can get people emotionally connected, that's what qualifies you for being in this position. You've got to be a bit of everything. That's this business. And that's the way that, especially again, thinking about these things on a larger scale, if you're an indie talent or whatever else it is, and thinking, oh man, how do I make it to the big time? How do I get to WWE? Well, I've got to be talented in multiple different areas. You've got, what's it, a triple threat that they say? I can sing, I can dance, I can whatever else, I can cook, whatever else it is, or what. I have all these different talents, whatever else it is. I don't know. But, yes, again, yeah, if you can just wrestle really well, that's great. That's awesome. That's cool. But no one wants to just see an awesome wrestler. Otherwise, the amateur wrestling leagues would be swimming with people. You know what I mean? And again, that's what happens in MMA very much. Not a lot of people really want to watch it, except for when somebody comes along and has a big mouth and talks a lot and has a lot of personality. Now people are interested. Same with boxing. Like, that's what happened with Muhammad Ali and a lot of these other people who were very charismatic and very very big personifications. They came out with all of this sort of stuff and had all of that swagger about them. Conor McGregor, all these people, all this stuff. Because again, that's how you get people to tune in. You have to have these bigger, larger than life characters that people go, I want to see that guy get punched in the face or whatever. And you've got to have your sympathetic or cool or whatever else it is babyface, where people are like, yeah, Mike Santana is very cool, but he is like still sympathetically cool or whatever. He's not just too uber cool to be too cool for school. He is a bit too cool for school, if you know what I mean. But, you know, again, he's not so super, like, uber cool where it's like, oh, he's trying too hard or he's a bit up himself or whatever else it is. He's like, he obviously has a amount of confidence and whatever else or whatever, that sort of thing, but he's not like so super arrogant where it's like, oh man, this guy, want to see him get punched in the face. It's like, nah, this guy's just chill, he's just cool, he's just, you know, whatever. But he's not just that, he's the badass who can turn around and kick your ass or whatever. But he's all, you know, people can be more than one thing. You know, people don't have to be a monolith. They don't have to just be, I am a gangster. Cool story, bro. You know, whatever. That's great. Cool for you. Whatever. You know, I am for the troops. Cool story for you. Right, cool. I am a hippie. Cool story for you. You know what I mean? You're not just, hey, I'm an Italian guy. Hey, basta. You know, like, you're not just a stereotype. You're not just this one thing. You're you. You've got interest in this. You've got interest in that. Because that's what most people are. Most people are an amalgamation. Most people have interests in different things and whatnot. They're not just, well, I'm a Southerner, you know, or whatever. Or I'm a New Yorker. Hey, I'm a walking here. You know, that sort of thing. You know, they're not just that one thing. Even though, like, if you are a Southerner or you are a New Yorker or whatever else it is, or an Australian like me, or whatever else it is, it's like, yeah, but I'm not just an Australian, so I'm not just, you know, g'day, how you going, or whatever, that sort of thing. I'm not just a monolith of that Australian guy, you know. I'm not just an Australian guy. I am my own person. I have my own interests and my own unique, different things that make me, not just, well, you know, shrimp on the barbie, which we would never say, but, you know, it's that sort of thing. I'm not just spitting out stereotypical stuff just because I'm Australian, you know what I mean, or whatever. Again, the foreign heel, whatever. It's almost always the Russian foreign heel as well, typically, especially like for the last, like, whatever, dozen or so years it was, or whatever it was, especially during the Cold War and whatnot. But yeah, like, again, I am Russian, boo me, you know, like, that was about it. I do bad things. That's it, you know, boo me, you know. Like, that was the level of, basically the level of sophistication of the storytelling for a long time. You're not from here, boo you, like, thing. That was the level of sophistication. The level of sophistication is a lot more now, and that also plays into, again, how your wrestling fans are going to consume your media. Because if you're going to just put out slop, then why would the fans care? Why are the fans going to care if you put out an inferior product every single month? Like, the really hardcore fans, maybe they'll care to an extent, but there will always be that, well, this wasn't really all that good because it was hastily thrown together and there wasn't enough time to really tell the story, and you were too busy really trying to tell another story that you're trying to set up next month and trying too hard to set up another story that you're trying to set up a month after that, which is the real story that you're trying to tell. And it's not bad to tell multiple stories, but when you're trying to tell too many different stories all at once, it all becomes a clutter, and it isn't clear enough to say, hey, well, this is where we'll be in 3 months' time. It's like, yes, you have this person floating around, like, whatever it is, the X Division, the world title, the whatever title, the tag titles, or this is who's feuding with this person, and this is why. Like, again, Tessa Blanchard beat Jody Threat months ago. Whatever happened to that? Nothing, basically. So why did she beat her? And is Jody just gone because she hasn't been back for ages? So again, what did that do for Tessa? Very little. I mean, it was a very good match and whatnot that they had, and exciting to see, like, the girls get a really cool new match type, basically. Well, not a new match type, but finally be able to wrestle in a certain match type, I guess, more so. But again, you've got to be thinking, this is not just, okay, this thing happens. It's saying, okay, that thing happens. Therefore, where does that lead this person after that? Why? You know what I mean? We gave that person a big win over somebody who was the number one contender at the time. So why didn't anything come of that? You know what I mean? And it was because, hey, we've got a heel champion. Which, like, obviously you're not going to do anything there. And hey, we've got heel tag team champions. So again, obviously you're not going to do anything there. And again, I don't think that you're going to put her back into the men's division and wrestle the men. So that was, in a sense, a very short-sighted decision. Maybe it was the decision that you were like, well, this is what we've got to do because, well, she's leaving and we want to get something going, but then plans changed or whatever. So, or then you realized, oh shit, yeah, we just gave the win to this heel and we've got a heel champion. So, well, and we've got this other story to tell. So, whatever we were doing has got to be put on the back burner, so to speak, or whatever. But yeah, that's where you've got to be like, no, we've got to be following through on things. We've got to have these things mean something, not just, oh, that happened. Oh, well, So again, if you have more of that time and more of that energy again, like maybe it was like, again, well, I'm gone. That's it. Like, I've been here for a long time and I've done everything that I can do and whatnot. I don't know. But, like, that's what it does seem like to an extent. That, or again, hey, we just don't have anything for you. All right, well, I'll go away again for a few more weeks. Tell me when you've got something for me. Like, because again, that's the problem. Again, you need to have things for people. If you do not have things for people, do not hire them. If you do not have things for people, again, do not keep them on your freaking roster and be like, oh man, they complain so much about not getting opportunities. Of course they do. Or just being another, face in the crowd and saying, how do I stand out? How do I, they're not just saying that for them either. They're saying that for saying, hey, I want to represent this company. I want to be the one to put the butts in the seats. I want to sell the tickets. I want to help this place out. I don't want to just do it for me. I want to do it for you guys too. So help me out. Tell me what I'm doing wrong, or tell me what I could do better, and that sort of thing. So again, those are the things that really need to be worked on. And maybe again, maybe it's somebody's biases or something like that here and there that needs to go away, right? If you're biased to anyone, unless it's the bias is, well, they're not making enough money for us to invest our time and energy in them. That's your problem. That's where you need to invest more in them, because the more you invest in them, the more return you will get. That's the cyclical nature of wrestling, sort of thing. People don't draw money unless you actually put that time and that energy and that effort into them to build them, to make them look like they're going to be the next big star. They've got to have the energy and the charisma and everything else and the ability in the ring and whatever else to go along with that, absolutely. But if you're complaining to say, hey, they're not drawing any money, their t-shirts aren't selling, this isn't selling, that isn't selling, or whatever else it is, then, but you have tried to push them, then sure, yeah, that's different. Where it's like, yeah, we've tried to do stuff with you, and maybe you're a good upper main event level person, but your merch just isn't selling enough for us to justify a reason for pushing you so hard. So why would we do that? Unless you're a drawer, why would we put you in that position? We need people who are drawers to be in that position. We need people to get the butts in the seats. We need to get the people that are gonna, get people to tune into our pay-per-views in those positions. So again, unless you're doing that, we cannot justify putting you in that position. If we're interested in building you, again, that's where you've got to be. But again, the office does need to give a lot of more people more opportunity. Well, office, but the wrestling office, so to speak, they need to give more people more opportunities to showcase themselves and say, and actually be like, hey, are people actually interested in this person? Yes, no, maybe, who knows? We want to see. We want to know if people are actually, gonna care, or actually interested in this person or that person or whatever. And, well, not just why, but why, So, but yeah, guys, I just thought, again, to have a bit of a conversation about that whole, wrestling content thing, because I think it is still an important subject to keep talking about and keep, analyzing it and keep saying, well, here's this other thing that I didn't think of before, and now I've thought of it. So, hey, here's this. Yeah, I know you guys probably well aware, well thought out of some of these things, but I know some people don't. So, and hey, I love talking about wrestling. I'm very obsessed with it. So, hey, I need to do that sometimes. So, hey, I appreciate you indulging me in my, crazy discussions that I do love to have here on the channel. They're, often, having a lot of the same sort of points, but sort of looked at it in a different angle or a different perspective or whatever else it is, that sort of thing sometimes. Man, I hope you've enjoyed it. So, yeah, but I also hope that you'll join me again in another one.